is the Tim Conway Jr. Show live on 97.1 Free FM. Kind of a new opening song there. Was that Focus? Hocus?
That's Hocus Pocus.
By Focus.
By Focus.
Yeah, look at that. All right, it is Friday the 13th. Sort of an odd day here in Southern California. And Adam Carolla will be coming on with us shortly. Always look forward to that. And Frank Kramer from Frosty, Heidi, and Frank, and God only knows who he brings in with us, or with him. You know, sometimes it's Frosty, sometimes he comes in alone, but he really is a great friend to come in on his off night. I mean, the guy only has Friday and Saturday night off, and he spends one of them in here, so got to thank him for that. Did we get him anything? Did we get him flowers or anything?
Nah, just booze.
Just booze. All right, well, I'm sure he'll enjoy that. And, again, really a weird day, Friday the 13th. And I woke up, or not I woke up, but I was watching TV this afternoon. I was watching NBC. And NBC breaks into regular scheduled programming with a special bulletin. And I thought, wow, you know what? When NBC does this, something's happened. You know, there's some other news stations. Breaking news will be, you know, it's raining in Malibu. Or breaking news, there's a car on fire in Buena Park. But this was breaking national news, and so I'm like, oh, boy, something has happened here. Is it a terrorist attack? Something's going on here. And what happened was Tim Russert had a massive coronary, or at least they think it is, and died. He was the host of that this week, or Meet the Press on NBC. And it's the only news station, or it's the only show I tape every week. My wife tapes a ton of reality-based shows, Hell's Kitchen, and what else? Survivor, Big Brother, you know, Flip This House, While You Were Out. And I tape one show every week, and it's 1 hour every Sunday of Meet the Press. And I can't believe this, man. This is shocking that this guy is gone. But, well, we'll talk more about it later on. But that really affected me, man. All right, folks, the man who kicks off every single morning on this very popular station, 97.1 Free FM, and his movie's coming out shortly, I believe towards the end of this month. It's the Hammer. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Carolla, man. Look at you, dude.
Me.
How you been?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. Hey, I was listening to your show, and, you know, because I'm a big fan. I hope you know that. But I was listening to your show, and every time I turn it on, you know, I flip around in the morning, you know, during commercial breaks to see what else is on, and I think everything else is terrible compared to the stuff you're doing in the morning.
What?
That's my opinion. One man's opinion, man.
Sure, just one CBS, KLSX, Jack Silver threatened opinion.
Totally unbiased.
Completely unbiased.
Right, it's exactly right.
I think you are the greatest force in radio myself. I listen every night.
Completely unbiased.
Yeah.
Two idiots just, you know jacking each other.
No, Tim, of course, I appreciate that, and I do feel like the show's sort of settled into a rhythm, and you know, instead of doing our impersonation of FM morning show, we're doing the Adam Carolla show now. So, on a serious note, thank you.
You're welcome. And on a lighter note, I heard you talking about cartoons where you and I grew up around the same, around the same era.
Yeah.
And the stuff that we watch on TV, there was not a single bit of education whatsoever. It was just fun.
Actually, it's probably the opposite. I would probably be, Jerry Seinfeld right now if I didn't watch so much Grape Ape.
Right.
Growing up in Hong Kong Phooey.
Oh yeah,
and the Hair Bear Bunch.
And you remember the what was it? The superheroes.
Oh sure.
And Inch Eye, Private Eye.
Yes. I know. I'm watching cartoons with my kids now, and they're actually like informative and educational. And the ones we were watching was basically, it was essentially like someone just had drugged you and duct taped you to your dad's burnt orange recliner, and that was my childhood. We had a choice between that and Ben Hunter, the old guy in the sweater who stood in front of an aquarium.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you just sat there watching, waiting. And the only reason you'd watch him is because you'd hope he was going to die on the air.
Right.
And he'd be like, now back to Tab Hunter and Doris Day from 1951. And you'd be like, oh, Christ, I should have went to school.
My daughter watches, and I'm sure your kids do the same thing. They're really into Dora and Diego and, the whole run here.
Right.
And my daughter's learning Spanish from watching Dora the Explorer, and then I try to turn her on to the Banana Splits, and she's bored to death.
Yeah. Uh-oh, Chungo. You're right, being nice.
Right, and Chungo, it was, you couldn't do that nowadays. You couldn't have like this black or really Hispanic character named Chungo walking around who couldn't speak English.
He's walking around in a chamois swinging from a vine. I know. Much less a guy named Haji who rode atop a camel standing up with a turban.
Right, exactly.
Although Johnny Quest, if you ever go back and watch Johnny Quest, it was an interesting time because we were a little confused as to who the enemy was in 1969.
Right.
It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't quite the Nazis anymore. It was a little too soon for the Muslims. We didn't know exactly who the enemy was. So if you check out Johnny Quest, they're all kind of half Nazi, half Vietnamese, half Japanese. Like, we just didn't quite have a handle on who the bad guy was back then. They were like guys that looked Japanese that spoke with a Russian accent.
Right. Well, the only cartoon that I thought was somewhat educational, they tried to get a message across, was that, what was it? Bill Cosby's.
The Cosby Kids?
Yeah, the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Right.
And at the end, Bill would come on and try to give you a little bite of education.
No,
but
it was an important message. Obesity in adolescence is super funny. Morbidly obese adolescence is a good time.
Right. And
the real-life Fat Albert wouldn't have seen his 25th birthday, right?
Right, exactly.
He lost a leg to diabetes when he was 17 and then met his demise at age 26, right?
Yeah, to be hanging out in the junkyard taking his blood sugar all the time.
Right. I mean, the real-life one. But, yes, adolescent diabetes and obesity, hey, good time.
They also had, the Speed Racer came on. I don't know if you saw Speed Racer, and it came on right after Kimba the White Lion. Remember that run that they had there?
Yeah, I watched Kimba and then Speed Racer.
Right.
And Spritel. What the? And by the way, I know that was all just sort of Japanese, weird anime kind of stuff, but first off, what the hell kind of name is Spritel? I mean, when you're Japanese and you're trying, the Speed Racer is one of those Japanese translation things. Like one time many years ago, me and Kimmel were in an arcade, like at a batting cage or something.
Right.
And there was a game called Violence Fight. And I realized, we just started laughing because we realized that was discussed in some boardroom in Tokyo, and they screwed it up.
Right.
It sounded great. You know what I mean? I'm sure we would do the same if we were inventing Japanese games. But Speed Racer is just one of those bad Japanese translations, right?
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like a store that used to be across from our old station, and it's these. It's like the foreigners come here and they don't ask anybody in this country about the proper translation for the
right.
for the title or the name of their store, and the name of the store was Office Good.
Right. No, I know somebody. There should be just one white guy who's in charge of all foreigners. You just run crap by my desk. I'll tell you whether it works or not. I'll tell you where. You know what? Sorry, but that's slang for gay in our country. Every once in a while, they screw that one up.
Right.
They get into trouble. But yeah, Speed Racer had Spritel and Chip. First off, so anyway, was there anyone named Spritel in the United States?
No.
And then,
and they took that commercial or that cartoon off the air because mothers were hysterical over it. I don't think fathers gave a rat's ass.
Yeah.
But to have your kid and your kid's pet monkey ride around in the trunk of a car going 180 miles an hour, It was a good educational cartoon for the little ones.
Well, it was awesome because my mom, who was kind of a hippie mom, and we grew up in the Valley too, was worried about the violence and the reckless driving that Speed Racer promoted, and the long-term effects of that.
Right.
Mom, if you're listening, the reason your son is in therapy today is not because of the handful of Speed Racer episodes he saw. Perhaps the neglect, the divorce, the benign abuse, you missing all my Pop Warner football games and nothing set aside for college. That's the reason why the son's in therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Not Speed Racer.
I remember that because
Princess.
I remember playing in Little League, and again, Adam Carolla was with us. I remember playing in Little League, and I threw a no-hitter. We only played 6 innings, but I threw a no-hitter. My dad was working at the time, so I understood why he wasn't there, but I never understood why my mom wasn't there. So after a no-hitter for 6 innings, I got on my bike, put my glove on the handlebars, and just rode home.
I know.
A no-hitter.
I use my Little League home run balls. I use them. Like, I went out and played with them, and they're in someone's ivy right now. It is so funny. It's funny how parents do that, which is, I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious, but listen, you're the world's worst goddamn parents, and you're worried about a little Speed Racer?
Right.
You're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic,
right.
Missy. Believe me, we have bigger fish to fry than this half-hour anime cartoon that comes on for once a day.
I don't know if you remember this. Tom Hatton, I believe, was the guy's name.
Yeah, the guy who drew Popeye.
Yeah, he would roll the projector.
He had to love the kids, and I mean love the kids. If you just picture that cat.
Yeah, but he used to roll that projector. And he would do the cut-ins and the cutaways from Popeye and explain Popeye to us as a child. And every explanation was the same. Well, Popeye's going to watch, Brutus torture Olive Oil. He's going to get pissed, grab himself a can of spinach, and it's off to the races.
Yeah, like, was there an episode of Popeye that you didn't have a pretty good understanding how it was going to end?
Right.
Like, well, Act 2 was a little confusing, but they brought it home in Act 3. Yeah, like, no matter where he was, even if his foot was trapped in a giant clam, which, by the way, seemed like I thought that's the way I was going to go as a kid. Like, if you would have asked me when I was 9, how are you gonna buy the farm, Carl? I would have said quicksand or giant clam.
Right.
I figure about 50-50 chance of each. But I don't. And by the way, what happened to those giant clams?
Right. Yeah, it's over.
There's over. Our kids are going to grow up in a world without giant clams.
No, but they're going to be bilingual and playing the violin by age 4.
He's going to be yelling at me in Spanish while he's playing the violin.
Oh yeah, I was at the market the other day with my wife and my daughter, and I'm walking away and from my daughter because she was with my wife, and my daughter screams "Para, para!" I'm like, "What did she say?" She goes, "She's telling you to stop." She learned that from Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, no. Hey, Sonny, come here. You want some agua? You want some agua, big boy? Yeah, I know. They watch Dora the Explorer. Everybody. And by the way, you watch these cartoons on PBS, and it's like, it's confusing because what they have to do. Come here, you goofball. And he's yelling at me in Spanish again. Yeah, cállate, siéntate. I got to yell at them back in Spanish. The thing that's great about the cartoons today is, like, back in the day, we weren't quite as, we're talking about like Haji with Johnny Quest and stuff.
Right.
Like, we weren't exactly as politically correct as we are now.
Right.
And now when you watch, like, Curious George and these other PBS cartoons, they have to be crazy politically correct.
Oh, right.
To the point where it's a little bit confusing. Meaning, they just must take 20 nationalities and then, like, 20 occupations, write them on a slip of paper, put them in separate hats, and just pull them out.
Right.
So you have the Japanese female crane operator on the construction site,
Right.
And it's like, you got the Samoan doctor, and it's like, huh? What? And as a parent, I'm like, what the F? I can't enjoy this. I am officially bumped. Like I can handle the good-looking white criminal from the alarm company commercial because he hasn't shaved for 3 days.
Right.
And evidently that makes you go bad. But
Right.
like, here's all I want to say about the political correctness. Are there, when it comes to doing like these alarm commercials and all this kind of stuff, first off, you're putting a lot of black and Hispanic actors out of work. Right. These are national spots, and these guys would gladly take the bread. Number one. Number two, are there any criminals of color anymore, or is everyone just blonde now who hasn't shaved for 3 days?
Right, exactly.
These guys all look like Luke Perry from 1989. Right. They just tell them, don't shave for 3 days and put this hoodie on.
I was, Adam Carolla is with us, and I was watching an old episode of Super Friends the other day. You remember that show, right?
Oh, yeah.
You had all the Super Friends get together.
My son's upset because I locked him out of the bedroom. Come on, Sonny. Daddy is making mirth on the radio. Kid,
bad vibes.
Kid doesn't look my way 23 hours out of the day. And then when I get on the phone,
he's all yours.
With you, you got to be next to Dad.
Yeah.
He spends the entire evening swatting Daddy's hand out of the way so he can watch Curious George. And then as soon as I get on the blower with you, we're best friends. Screw that.
Yeah, well, just all I do is flip on door, man, and she just shuts down. Just sits there and watches
we got the same thing. But I know what we're talking about.
But Super Friends, you had Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin, and Aquaman. All of them were, they lived in the same joint.
Sure.
And the problem was that once you have Superman, everybody else's super strength pales in comparison.
Yeah.
So you got Superman who can fly around the world and reverse its rotation to make time go backwards, and Aquaman
he can put out a volcano by blowing on it.
Right, and Aquaman can throw some kind of crazy water ball underwater.
Oh, I forgot about that because, you communicating with a manatee is not exactly going to save us from a dirty bomb. You know what I mean? By the way, that was how high was the guy who came up with Aquaman? He can talk to pike and trout, big mouth bass,
right.
grouper. You name the fish, walleye. He can harness their power. When is the last time you called on an aquatic creature? When's the last time you're like, man, I wish I had a starfish? He rode a seahorse.
Right, yeah.
That's probably what sold it.
Yeah, and the guy. So anytime something happened, anytime there was a crime under the ocean, they'd call him. But that was pretty rare that somebody was committing a radical crime 6,000 feet under the ocean.
Somebody's robbed a 7-Eleven that's in the Marianas Trench. Quick, Aquaman! I know. What's going on out in the ocean, by the way? And furthermore, who cares? I don't know if there's a liquor store being robbed in the ocean right now. I don't care.
Right, exactly.
I know that Aquaman pitch. And by the way, you can't just put a man at the end of everything and pass it off as a superhero. But Aquaman, total cop-out, but I know him riding the seahorse is probably what pushed him over the top during the pitch session,
Right, and then who was the guy that was the fastest guy? Was it the
Flash?
The Flash, yeah, the Flash. And his only superpower...
White guy, by the way.
Yeah, white guy who can run faster than anything on Earth.
Right.
Not so super. I mean, he just gets there before everybody else.
I know. It's right. You get yourself a ticket and you leave the day before, and I'll meet you on the East Coast. Big whoop, Flash. I know. It is weird. And then there's Wonder Woman who had the invisible plane, but they still had to kind of draw it.
Right.
Because otherwise...
yeah, you couldn't see it.
By the way, not distracting having the chick in the red, white, and blue pantsuit and the golden lariat just going through the sky minus the plane. That's not going to draw any attention. I would argue the plane would be a lower profile way to travel, right?
Yeah, if it was just a regular plane.
Right, because if I'm standing around my backyard and I see a plane go by, I don't look up. But if I see a chick in knee-high boots and a golden lariat and a bustier going by with the flag on it, I'm going to look up.
Right.
That'll catch my attention.
And her only power, as I remember, was she could, with her bracelets, could deflect bullets.
she could do that, and she could also toss the lasso or lariat of truth.
Right.
Once that thing got around the bad guy, they just sung like a canary.
But how sexist, how great was it growing up in the 70s where the only real female superhero had to be in a really tight one-piece bathing suit showing her boobs?
I got to tell you, when Linda Carter would get that golden lariat around around the Nazi and start to get into a little bit of rough trade with him, I got to tell you, those are some of my earliest bathroom memories. I mean, that I didn't think it got any better than that. Kids, this is pre-porn. You don't know how rough we had it.
Right.
This was our porn.
I mean, speaking of our porn when we were kids, you had to, investigate all of your friends, your dad's friends' closets to see if anybody had a Playboy hanging out.
Oh.
Or I remember one of my friends, his dad had videotapes of pornography, but it was 70s pornography. It didn't really show much. But, I mean, that guy was the most popular guy on campus just because his dad had a VCR and porno tapes.
When I would babysit, the first thing I would do is tear apart the guy's master bath.
Right.
Looking for the Playboys. I mean,
it was always, for some reason, it was always folded in half behind the toilet.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about porn, but it gets maybe just the 70s porn, but it got a certain mildew to it.
Right.
Like I could be on my deathbed with my eyes sewn shut, hooked up to an IV, and you could wave a Wii from 1978 in front of me, and I'd be like, it smells like mildew 70s porn. I don't know if it's the paper stock they used. I don't know what that was, but it got mildewy.
Yeah, I think it's because we kept it so long.
Yeah,
the sports.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it's meant to be. Maybe some turnover is important.
Right.
It was like they hung on to these things like they were heirlooms. Like it's like I was in Guantanamo Bay, and this is all I had. Like
right.
I looked at the same Playboy for like 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine that today?
I did the exact same thing. And we had when we lived in the valley, and my neighbor, we had a big wall of ivy. And there was a chain link fence, so it wasn't a complete wall, so you could see through it. And my neighbor used to sunbathe topless.
Oh, man.
And I can't tell you how many footballs and Frisbees I threw over that fence so I could hop over and, go retrieve it. I think she was on to me after about the 15th time in 1 hour.
It's weird. Like, I wonder, the idea, could you imagine, it's like whoever you're into, as a kid now or a young person, Britney Spears or Lindsay Lohan or whatever, you just hop on the family computer, Google in Britney crotch shot, and there's about 250 of them.
Right.
Could you imagine when we were that age, just checking out Cheryl Ladd from Charlie's Angels or Charlene Tilton from Dallas or something?
Right,
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
You find a picture of these chicks in a bikini. That was a weekend.
Right. Yeah, but now if you have, you're right. If you have, if Paris Hilton is your cup of tea, who, by the way, I just discovered a couple months ago, while I'm graduating in 1981 from Birmingham High School on Balboa and Victory, same year Paris Hilton was born. 1981. Well, I'm on that hot field with that cap and gown.
Listen, you want to feel old, brother. Try dancing with a 19-year-old Julianne Hough. I'm like, what year were you born, Sweet Cheeks? 87? Oh, I was living in North Hollywood with a stripper.
I know. It is so
awesome.
odd. It really is amazing. And think about this, though. When we were living in Los Angeles, I think you were still probably in L.A., and I don't know if you're a Dodger fan or not, but remember Kirk Gibson's home run in the World Series? Well, when that happened, kids that were born that year are now 20, 21 years old.
Wow.
And I remember, being on my fourth or fifth job, living out, outside the house. And these kids who are, now they're going to college.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. It's so weird being literally Pop's Corolla. now, because I don't know, did our dads feel this way when they were our age?
I'm sure they did. But you know what? I don't think our dads, now everybody is so hypersensitive with you. You got to check your cholesterol. You got to check your blood sugar. I mean, they know, thyroid, your liver, your lungs, all that crap. Everyone's always talking about it. Back then, you just kept eating graham crackers with butter on until your heart stopped.
Right. Hey, watch yourself some Speed Racer. Here's some graham crackers and some margarine.
Yeah,
knock yourself out.
Right.
Enjoy. Oh, well, you gotta understand too, though. The year 2000 was such a crazy benchmark in society that all the hippie adults that I hung out with when in the 70s didn't think society was going to make it to 2000.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we might as well have a good time. We'll just live like Jim Morrison on the road,
right?
Because we better have fun before the whole S house comes down.
Yeah.
I mean, between the Soviets sitting on a couple hundred ballistic nuclear-headed missiles, and us having ours aimed back at them, and all the pollution, and the Indians crying by the side of the highway and everything.
Right.
The year 2000 we're not going to be here.
Yeah, so you enjoy yourself.
Yeah, have some more margarine and some more Golden Graham.
Yeah, but now we're too overprotective. I drove to Oregon with my daughter, who was 2.5, and she had to literally sit in a car seat with a 5-point harness for 16 hours.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you strap them in like Chuck Yeager before you even roll down the driveway.
Right.
And the thing that's the most insane part of this entire thing with the whole click it and ticket and the strap the kids in and get the tickets and, God forbid, we drove, I circled the globe in my dad's 61 VW Bug on his lap.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
right.
The other half of the time, I had my head hanging out of the sunroof while I was standing on the passenger seat.
Yeah, and no seatbelt.
No seatbelt, no headrest.
Right.
And no latch. The seat just flapped in the wind. It's like a hinge. It wasn't a seat. It was a goddamn hinge. The point is you can't go anywhere without strapping the kid in the 5-way harness and 10 ways to Sunday, and you'll get a ticket if you're not strapped in.
Right.
The only place where the only vehicle on the planet that does not have seatbelts is the school bus.
Right.
So I'll strap my kid in like he's a fighter jock from 0 to 7, and then when the bus starts picking him up, he's just going to roll around in that big can.
Yeah, he just becomes an interior missile when that thing starts rolling.
Right. It's a kind of a weird mixed message.
Yeah.
You got to strap yourself in, strap the kid in, until they get in the long tube with the old, by the way, the lady with the cataracts who's in her 60s who's steering the guided missile with the 40 kids in it, they'll all just be standing on their seat when that thing goes off the overpass.
Right.
Awesome idea, society. And by the way, what a message, government. Not since gambling is bad, come play the lottery,
right.
has there been such a mixed message since.
Well, what's also an odd thing is, I mean, some kids might have to be into that, you have to be a certain weight to get out of those kids' seats. And some kids who are, short or thin could literally be in that car seat until they're 11 or 12 years old.
You want to talk about pathetic.
Yeah, and you know what? And they can legally smoke in the car if they wanted to, because you have to be 18 to buy cigarettes, but you can smoke at 12 if you get your hands on them.
Really?
But you can't. I can't smoke driving my 12-year-old around, but she could puff away while I'm driving, to the market.
Smoking in the child seat.
Right. Do you ever do this, by the way? Do you ever, when you go to the post office and you're going to be like 9 feet away from the car and you have to make the decision whether to take the kids in with you?
Yeah, this is why. This is why I'm a horrible parent. This is why I immediately got help, because you're talking. By the way, you're talking to the kid. When I was doing Dancing with the Stars, I'm just telling you about bad decision making.
Right.
When I was doing Dancing with the Stars, at my last dance, I busted out my unicycle.
Right.
And I was on the unicycle,
I remember that.
I hadn't ridden the thing in 20 years, and it was sitting on my back patio. And I said, well, I better get up on this thing and take a few hot laps around the picnic table with it, because I'm going to be doing it with a Zorro cape on in front of 20 million people in a few days.
Right.
It'd be nice not to fall on my ass. fast. So I got on the unicycle and started doing a couple laps on the patio, and my son came up, and he wanted to know what was going on, and he's 2, and he wanted a ride. I said, hop on board. No helmet, no airbag, no nothing. I just tossed him under my right arm like I was carrying a watermelon, and I turned some hot laps around a very sharp picnic table, and I thought, if somebody photographed me doing this, the kids would be taken away.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of horrible parent I am. I would leave them in the car.
Yeah, I did this with my daughter about 2 months ago. I was at the post office, and I was just going to literally take an envelope and throw it into the express mailbox. And I was going to be 9 feet away from the car. I locked the car. I took it in. And I come out, and there's a guy standing next to the car who goes, hey, is this your car? And I said, yeah. And he says, you know, your daughter said, don't start with me, buddy. I'm not sticking around till the cops show up. I'm out of here. And I had to practically run over him to get out of there.
That's the other thing, too, is like, when did everyone become deputized?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
I was doing that move where, hey, I don't know if you've got this one. I was running a couple minutes late. It was 5:30 in the morning. It was, dark outside. My windows were fogged up. I was hustling into work on Monday. I live up in the hills where there's no sidewalks. I'm making a little time. I'm not speeding. I'm not being reckless, but I'm running a little bit late, and it's 5:30 in the morning, so it's not exactly like there's a bunch of nannies pushing strollers out there. It's dark outside. Everything's fogged over.
Right.
I come around the corner. The guy's doing this move. You know this douchebag move where you decide to walk your dog off the leash, but you also decide to give the slow down and the stink eye to every car that passes you because you decided not to hook your goddamn dog up to a leash.
Right.
So he gives me that, whoa, that slow it down because I like my dog to walk in the middle of the street at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
When did everyone become deputized to be kind of a douchebag? It's like, if you live up in the hills where I live, you literally can't push your car down the street without somebody giving you the slow down move.
Well, my wife gives the slow down move. I don't, because if I figure a guy's going to be driving 90 miles an hour on my 25 mile an hour street, that he is willing to risk his own life, he might as well, he's going to kill her while he's at it.
Right. I know. He's going to that'll be his last act.
Yeah, he's going to take her out.
He's going to take your wife out with his Pontiac.
Exactly.
I know. Does it slow it down? I'm going to walk my dog. First off, don't walk your dog at 5:30 in the morning.
Right. And, you also get the stink eye and the attitude only from women when you're hosing down the driveway.
Yeah.
A guy can look at that and go, geez, I forgot to hose mine down. But a woman looks at it like, oh, you don't understand the water shortage. I can't believe you're doing that. You know how much water you're wasting?
It's just this general sort of, it's everyone's business to figure out what you're doing with your kids, what you're doing with the dog, what you're doing with the car. I don't like that. Yeah. I like the... And by the way, you know what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. There's no such thing as getting out of the car and punching anyone anymore because you'd lose your house.
Right, you'd sue him. Yeah, right.
So you'd sue him. So once you remove that threat, all of a sudden you can have guys that are 140 pounds wet getting in the face of guys who play in the NFL,
right,
telling them what to do with their dog and their car and everything else because there's no more. You hope the guy punches you now.
Right, exactly.
It'll be the easiest $500,000 you ever made.
Yeah, it's a big payday, and you're off the races. All right, buddy, we got to take a break. We always appreciate you calling in every Friday, man.
Always a pleasure,
I know you're a
Timmy.
busy man. You got the videotape coming out, June 28th?
June 24th.
June 24th, the Hammer.
The Hammer comes out. But if you... Now, listen, Tim.
Yes, sir.
I'm not kidding you. This is a great movie. And if anyone wants to go to pre-order it, they can go to Amazon.com or one of those websites and check it out.
Perfect. Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
Have you busted even on the movie?
I personally am still a little bit behind.
Right.
But I think, Harvey Weinstein's company is distributing the DVD.
Oh, good.
And we just met with them last week, and they have pretty high hopes for it. So I think it'll do good once the 24th hits.
Yeah, that's what you want to do is get a big movie studio involved in the distribution, and then they'll just keep sending you checks every week.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm sure. No, listen. Honestly, labor of love, labor of passion.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Is
swear
there
to you,
going to be a Hammer too?
People, it's come up, but I think I'm moving on. But look, seriously and honestly, give me 10 seconds. I'm telling you, there's no way I could ever make money on this film because I have 5,000 hours of my time invested into it. So even if I made $10 an hour, I would still be losing. It's not about that. It's just about a good product that I want people to go out and see.
Perfect. Well, buy it on Amazon.com. It comes out June 24th. Be the first person on your block to own it.
Yeah, you can pre-order it.
Yeah. Are you going to order some?
I got a pile of them.
Hey, look at you. Yeah, my dad has a coffee table made out of dwarf tapes. It's actually pretty snazzy.
I'm going to build a gardening shed out of the extra one.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Timmy.
All right. Happy Father's Day, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. There he goes, everybody. Adam Carolla. All right, we're standing by. It looks like Frank Kramer will be on with us. And if you'd like to see this show, we're webcasting live tonight. Just go to 971freefm.com, and you'll be able to see what we're doing in the studio tonight. So buzz over there at 971freefm.com. Thanks to Stickcam, right? Yeah, Stickcam. We're doing this live tonight. Frank Kramer's coming in. We'll have the news with Gina Grad. It is the Tim Conway Jr. Show live on 97.1 Free FM.
This is the Stud Line with Tim Conway Jr. and Adam Carolla.
Well, you insisted.